Hello guys, we are back in new fanfic, and if enjoying this then please share and like part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. Now, I suggest we wait until nighttime to strike, said Anko, concluding her explanation. Naruto looked a bit distressed after hearing that. Why not just attack right now? Asked Naruto. Who knows what they'll do to Kin if we take too long. Naruto, we still don't know what's the full extent of their forces here, answered Anko, in a serious tone. We need every advantage possible to increase our odds of success. And attacking at night is almost always the right thing to do if possible, we're shinobi. With that, Naruto decided to comply, still not too happy about it though. But if it was to increase their chances of success, he decided to bite the bullet this time. And so they waited for the sun to set, and while at that, they made an infiltration plan. Night had finally come, and the cold wind of the forest sent chills down the spines of anyone in that ghost town. The atmosphere was eerily quiet, with the only audible sounds being the leaves on the trees being hit by gusts of wind. The pale moonlight illuminating the place with very few clouds in the sky. But soon, that silence would be broken by something, to say the least, unorthodox. An army of dozens of shadow clones emerged from the woods, all looking the same as Naruto, rushing in the direction of the abandoned mining village's town hall while yelling a furious battle cry. As the shadow clones run, they started to activate the traps the sound ninja had left along the way. Landmines made of explosive tags, a rain of shuriken and kunai coming out of nowhere, trapdoors on the ground. But not even all that was enough to stop the charge of the shadow clones, there were just way too many of them. And so, the sound ninja sentries had come out of hiding to stop them. Masked sound ninja came out of nowhere and started to engage the clones in combat. Puffs of smoke made by defeated clones filled the area as the sound ninja made short work of them, but it just seemed like it wasn't doing anything because more and more Naruto shadow clones would appear out of nowhere and attack. Eventually, the sound ninja would eliminate every last shadow clone, leaving only one Naruto left, cornered by all the enemies. That was impressive for a kid like you, but still stupid to try and attack us all on your own, said one of the sound ninja, his kunai already drawn out. Now surrender and come quietly, we're gonna figure out who put you up to this. Naruto then gave them a sarcastic smirk. I think it's already been enough time, now I'll be able to play without holding myself back, said him, getting in a battle position. And out of nowhere, a puff of smoke involved Naruto, and when the smoke cleared out, he wasn't there anymore. Instead, it was a woman with purple hair and a trenchcoat. The first phase of the plan has been a success, now I'll just have to finish you guys off. Anko quickly made a few hand signs, and a bunch of snakes started to sprout from her arms, each biting an enemy, making the remaining sound ninja rush to attack Anko. The special Junin was managing to fight all of them in equal footing using taijutsu and her snakes. It wouldn't be an easy fight for either side, and she knew that it would take a long time to wrap it all up. Making use of Anko's distraction, Naruto, Ino and Sakura managed to sneak inside the town hall using the back entrance. They started to run through the empty corridors and halls of the place, looking for any sign of Kin. Do you think that Anko-sensei is gonna be okay, Naruto? Asked Sakura, in a worried tone of voice. Don't worry, we know how tough she is. I'm sure she won't lose to those punks outside, no matter how many of them are there, answered Naruto, in a reassuring tone. And so, the trio reached the end of the line, a big hall who gave access to the staircase that led to the next floor, and guarding it, was a figure that those three knew very well, Zaku Abumi. But something about him felt different. You, yelled Naruto, surprised. What are you doing here? Didn't Shino bust up your arms in the preliminaries? Zaku gave them a crazy grin, he was as furious as he seemed to be happy. After me and Dosu brought Kin back, Lord Orochimaru gave us another chance to prove our worth. Zaku started walking in the direction of the trio. So he fixed my arms, and even gave me a surprise gift. Zaku then stopped walking and planted his feet. You know, it's pretty lucky of us that you managed to find this place and come here on your own. A shame you didn't bring that bastard Sasuke Uchiha with you though. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto yelled, losing his patience. What does Sasuke has to do with this? Zaku scoffed. Dosu's plan was to use Kin to make you come here, Blondie. Zaku opened up an evil smirk. And then capture you, and use you to lure that bastard Sasuke to complete our mission. Ing him as our prime objective. You didn't have to kidnap Kin if you wanted to pick a fight with me. You should just have asked and I'd come kick your butt anytime. Naruto was very pissed off. Now where is she? Kin is a traitor to the sound, she was gonna die anyway, so we thought we might as well make some use of her while she still drew breath. You bastard. Naruto was about to jump on him. She's upstairs with Dosu, you can go get her if you want, I won't stop you. Said Zaku, in a wry tone. And I'd be quick if I were you, Dosu likes to torture prisoners when he gets bored. Naruto, let's go, said Ino, in a determined tone, making Naruto and Sakura nod in response, the trio ready to run in the direction of the stairs. Hold your horses. I'll only let the annoying blonde one past me. Zaku's eyes filled with expectation, looking at Sakura and Ino. You two, I didn't forget the stunt you pulled on me back at the Forest of Death. So I think a little payback is in order. Zaku stared at the girls, imagining all the ways he could beat them up. Don't worry about us, Naruto, go ahead and save Kin. Sakura looked at her boyfriend, a determined expression on her face. Forehead is right, we can take care of this creep just fine on our own. Said Ino, a confident look on her face. Naruto struggled a bit to accept the situation, but finally decided that he had to save Kin as soon as possible. He simply nodded and ran in the direction of the stairs, making his way to the upper levels of the town hall. And once he had gone out of sight, only Zaku, Ino and Sakura remained in that hall, an eerily silence filling the atmosphere of the place. Funny, when he mentioned an annoying blonde one, I could have swore he was talking about you. Jested Sakura, trying to break up the tension. Very funny, answered Ino, getting on a battle position, still a bit nervous about this fight. Any strategies? You were always quite the bookworm. We can't fight him at a distance, so you go from the right, I'll go from the left, okay? Sakura suggested, remembering all the times she saw Zaku fight, to which Ino nodded in response. The two kunoichi then charged against the smirking Sound Genin, each one coming from a different side. And once they got into melee range of him, each one threw a kick at him, to which he almost effortlessly blocked them with his forearms. The girls then continued punching and kicking him, with little to no success. Every attack they launched he either blocked, dodged or parried it. Once he got fed up, he counter-attacked by punching Ino's gut and kicking Sakura in the face. Eventually, the girls disengaged and retreated back to few feet away from him. Is that all you got? Taunted Zaku. At this rate I won't even have to use my ninjutsu. Sakura looked at Ino. I guess taijutsu is not an option for us, and we won't be able to keep our distance either because of his airwave jutsu. Said the pink-haired girl. Then we'll just have to fight him in both ways. Answered Ino, taking a few shuriken out of her pouch and giving them to Sakura. I'll charge him on my own, you cover me from afar. Said the blonde girl, to which Sakura nodded. Clone just you, yelled the pinkette after making a few hand signs, making 3 mirror images of her appear. Here I go. Ino started to run at Zaku's direction once again. The Sound Genin got prepared to block her incoming attack, but then Sakura threw a barrage of shuriken from the opposite direction, something that made him have to use his airwaves to deflect. And so, with that distraction, Ino managed to throw him a powerful direct punch in his face, right at his nose. And follow it up by a knee strike on his gut, a cross on the side of his head, and finishing up with an uppercut on his chin. But Zaku wasn't done yet. He managed to strike Ino back with an airwave, which sent the girl flying back to where Sakura was. Not half bad for someone with a taijutsu as sloppy as yours. Sakura joked as she helped her friend and rival back up. Look who's talking. And at least I managed to actually hit him a few times, replied Ino, panting, a little bit bruised by the impact of the airwave. Okay, no more playing around. Zaku was furious, and as soon as he said that, a purple miasma started to emanate from his body, and strange black marks started to emerge and cover his skin. Sakura remembered that same power when Sasuke woke up in the forest and only managed to suppress it after Naruto managed to make him come back to his senses. This is the greatest gift that Lord Orochimaru bestowed upon me. Zaku seemed somehow even more aggressive and enraged. Now, prepare to die. Zaku rushed the girls, his speed being too much for them to keep up, and started to blitz them with a barrage of kicks, punches and throws. Sakura and Ino attempted to defend themselves and fight back with their own taijutsu, but it was no use, they couldn't even match him in his normal state, let alone now that he was empowered by the curse mark. He kept wailing on them with a barrage of physical strikes, and when he got bored, decided to finish off the battle. Die. Full power decapitating airwave jutsu. He yelled as his hands shot out the most powerful of his airwaves yet, hitting the girls with the full brunt of its power, and sending them flying to hit against the stone walls of the place, the impact of it making huge crater both on the ground and on the wall. Severely bruised and full of bleeding injuries on her bodies, Ino and Sakura laid on the ground, seemingly unconscious. Huh, I didn't expect that'd be enough to them, said Zaku, turning around. I'd better go see how Dosu's doing. But through their unwavering determination, the two girls still managed to get up on their feet, even in that sorry state they were both in. After noticing that, Zaku turned around again, a surprised look on his face. Well, ain't that a surprise? Zaku grinned in a maniacal way. Looks like I'll have to beat you two up a bit more. We're not gonna lose to the likes of you, answered Sakura, her eyes full of determination. Huh, and how exactly do you think you can win against those odds? Didn't you just see the damage I did to you two in a single move? Asked Zaku, having fun. Because we're fighting for something more than a stupid mission, said Ino, struggling to keep up on her feet. We're fighting for the person we love. So there's no way we're gonna let ourselves be defeated here. That's right, as long as we still live, we're gonna keep getting back up until we win, said Sakura, with her eyes full of passion. Zaku couldn't hold himself back, he bursted out laughing loudly, like that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard in his life. Eventually, he stopped, and then looked at the girls before speaking. Love, huh, what a load of crap. Zaku then planted his feet. Very well then, let's see what love can do against my strength. I'll give you the first move once again. But make good use of it, because if you don't me with it, I'll crush you with my full power. Zaku then waited for the girls to strike, Sakura and Ino being very nervous despite their bravado. So, this is it huh? Ino was nervous, but had no intention of backing down at that point. Yes, this is it. Sakura put her left hand at her ninja pouch, as if she was looking for something. What's our plan now? It's gotta be a pretty good one this time. For both our sakes, said Ino, trying to lighten the tension. I have an idea, there's this trick I've seen Naruto and Sasuke do in the Land of Waves. Sakura then explained the plan in its entirety to Ino, which made the girl put on a serious expression. That's really risky, commented Ino. But I agree, it's our only chance. Well, I don't have all night you know, taunted Zaku, extremely confident. Ready? Asked Sakura. Ready, answered Ino. Then, Sakura pulled a smoke bomb from her pouch and threw it at the ground, making the puff of smoke completely cover them. The hell, said Zaku. You're gonna run away. Sakura then suddenly yelled from within the smoke. Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. Windmill of Shadows. And then, a giant shadow shuriken emerged from the smoke and started to make its way towards Zaku. That's not gonna work. Decapitating airwave jutsu. Zaku shot a powerful airwave, which quickly hit the shuriken, deflecting it. But that was not all, he soon noticed something was still up. Ha, another shuriken in the shadow of the first one. Said him, and using his enhanced reflexes by the curse mark, Zaku managed to jump over it. Too bad. I win. And as Zaku prepared to shoot another airwave at where the puff of smoke was, the shuriken he jumped over transformed into Ino, who threw a kunai at the sound ninja, who then had to turn around to deflect it with yet another airwave. Nice trick, but still not enough. Zaku was about to claim his victory by blasting Ino to smithereens, when she suddenly yelled. Ino, do it now, said her, as she suddenly transformed into Sakura. And so, the Yamanaka girl emerged from the puff of smoke, her hand set on a very specific hand sign of her clan and pointing straight at Zaku. Ninja art. Mind transfer jutsu. And so, Ino possessed Zaku's body, as she clearly struggled to maintain controlled. Sakura, it's now or never. She yelled, as if she were in pain. And as fast as she could, Sakura ran in the direction of Zaku with a kunai in hand, and with all of her power and determination, she delivered a crushing blow against his heart. Cha! Yelled the Pinkett, as she drove the kunai through Zaku's heart with full force, piercing it, and with Ino releasing the mind transfer at the last second and managing to escape back to her body. And with that, Zaku Abumi saw himself with a kunai through his chest, blood leaking out of the side of his mouth, a dumbsterchic expression on his face. As the curse mark started to retreat back and clear his skin. Lord Orochimaru, I failed you again, said Zaku, as he fell to his knees and then to the ground, leaving a puddle of blood below his dead body. Sakura sat on the ground, extremely tired and hurt, while Ino stumbled in her direction, barely managing to make it to Sakura's side, sitting right beside her friend. I thought I'd never say that, but you did well for once, forehead. Joked Ino, in a happy tone, having trouble speaking. Just shut up. Sakura answered, in an endearing tone. I just regret not having the strength to follow Naruto, that Dosu was always the scariest of their team. Ino got serious again. Kin, yelled Naruto, extremely worried because of her state. The girl, almost unconscious, turned her head, noticing that Naruto was there, making her eyes start to get watery as she made a faint smile, showing both happiness and guilt. You came, said her, almost as if she had already given up hope. I told you, I never go back on my word. Naruto smiled at her. The boy then noticed how hurt she was. Who did that to you? Naruto asked angrily. Was it this guy? Turning his gaze to Dosu. Kin then looked away, afraid to say anything more. Before anything more could be said, however, Dosu got up on his feet and started talking. As much as I hate to cut this heartwarming reunion short, I think we have more pressing matters to attend to. Said him, in a sarcastic tone, as he grabbed Kin by the hair and pulled her, making her squeal in pain, hurting the girl on purpose. You bastard! Yelled Naruto. I heard that people fight harder when they're angry. The sound ninja pulled her hair further. Should I end Kin's life right now so that you'll give me a more interesting fight? Said Dosu, drawing out his kunai with his other hand. Dosu, said Kin, getting the sound ninja's attention. Huh, what is it? Want to say your last words? Asked him. Kin waited a few instants to start talking, clearly struggling. I've worked all my life for the Sound Village, I've done all I could for Lord Orochimaru. Kin started to tear up as she spoke. So please, just let me ask you one last thing. Interesting, what is it? Asked him, intrigued. You can me, I don't care. But please, let Naruto live. At this point, Kin could barely even talk properly. Kin, what are you talking about? Asked Naruto, shocked. Huh, you know that I could just you both, right? Answered Dosu, intrigued. It's different. I'm giving my life willingly for Lord Orochimaru. Kin's tears were starting to dry up. To atone for my betrayal of him and the sound. Dosu chuckled. Interesting. He then unbound her. She wasn't in any condition to fight or run anyway. If you're so adamant in atoning for your sins, then you must take your own life as an offering for Lord Orochimaru. Do that, and I give you my word that I'll spare Naruto Uzumaki. He then handed her his kunai. Kin was shocked. She stood silent, doing nothing, sitting on her knees as she started at the kunai. I'll give you time to pull yourself together. I can keep myself entertained beating you down in the meantime. Dosu looked at Naruto, who was full of rage. Kin, don't do it. Naruto screamed. Then an idea came up in his head. He had used the mind domination jutsu on her. Do not do it. This is an order, yelled him. She wouldn't be able to go against his will. And so, Kin stood still, a desperate expression on her face. You don't need to strike any deals with this jerk, said Naruto, getting in a battle stance. I'll beat him up right here and right now. And then, I'll take you back home with me. Naruto had promised that to Kin, and he was about to fight tooth and nail to keep that promise. Dosu laughed. It's time then. He too got in a battle stance. Let us begin. Naruto Uzumaki. With all his might, Naruto charged against Dosu, filled with determination. The sound ninja then took out the resonating echo speaker in his forearm, just waiting for Naruto to strike. And strike he did. Naruto started to attack him with a combination of powerful punches and kicks, to which Dosu responded in kind. They both seemed to be pretty even locked in that taijutsu dispute, until Dosu found a hole on Naruto's defenses, and took the chance to exploit it, punching the air right beside Naruto's face with his resonating echo speaker. Take this. The sound ninja activated his jutsu, but Naruto quickly responded with a direct punch to his face, then retreating back a few feet. At that moment, Dosu's jutsu started to take effect, making Naruto start to get a bit disorientated. The hell, said Naruto, starting to feel a bit of nausea. Is this the jutsu he used to take out Choji? Correct, said Dosu, as he recovered after the punch. And it will be the jutsu that'll take you out as well, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto knew that he couldn't get close on his own, so he instantly knew that there was only one thing to do in that situation. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he yelled, as multiple puffs of smoke appeared in the area, revealing a multitude of clones all identical to Naruto. Here I go, he yelled, as all the clones started to charge Dosu at the same time. The sound ninja then started to fight back, taking down one or two clones with his taijutsu skills, but there were just way too many of them. Dosu was getting quickly overwhelmed. And then it happened. 3 clones kicked him up to the air at the same time, with him unable to do anything in response. And so, the original Naruto jumped up, above him and readied his right leg for a devastating attack. Take this. Naruto Uzumaki Barrage, yelled the blonde ninja, as he smacked Dosu in the head with full force in a devastating kick to the head, which sent the sound ninja crashing down to the ground and hitting it with incredible force. And then, Naruto fell back to the ground, immediately shifting his attention to Kin. I told you I'd defeat this jerk. He smiled confidently. Now let's go home, Kin. And as he started to walk in the girl's direction, he heard the sound of Dosu laughing, and when he looked back there was the sound ninja laying in the ground flat on his back. Impressive. You've gotten better, said Dosu, slowly getting back up on his feet. I didn't expect to have to use this here, but it seems I have no choice. A purple, eerie miasma started to emanate from the sound ninja's body as black marks covered the exposed part of his skin. What the? Said Naruto, as he looked at his enemy. Now, let's get started with round 2. Dosu got in a battle stance, his speaker ready. Fine by me. Naruto made the hand seals for the shadow clone jutsu again. I'll beat you down as many times as it takes, until you can't get up anymore. Then, the puffs of smoke and the shadow clones showed up once more. And they charged Dosu yet again. But this time, it wasn't the same. Dosu's brute force, speed and reflexes were enhanced by the curse mark, meaning that the clones couldn't overwhelm him in the same way they had done before. And so, Dosu started to dispatch them one by one with his superior taijutsu. He kicked, punched, and threw the clones until there was only one left, to which he grabbed by the neck and lifted him up with his speaker hand. Now, feel the full power of my jutsu enhanced by the curse mark. Dosu activated the speakers, and the sound waves hit Naruto hard. It was like his head was on fire. Naruto's brain felt like it was melting, his intestines feeling like they were working backwards, and his muscles felt like they were tearing themselves apart. And as Dosu let go of his grip, the orange ninja fell to his knees, unable to keep himself from vomiting on the ground in front of him. It was as if all of his strength had left him. Huh, down in one hit, said Dosu, impressed at himself. The curse mark truly is something else. Kin watched in horror as Naruto suffered on the ground, unable to do anything to help her master. She cried and cried, almost as if it was her who was getting attacked, not him. Deep inside, she wanted more than anything to take the deal and end her own life to save Naruto's. She loved him, more than anything, but the control of the jutsu forbid her from doing it, and there was no way to fight it. I hoped you would give me more of a challenge, Naruto Uzumaki. Dosu then kicked him, making him fall to his face in the ground. But since you already seem to be down for the count, I'll end this already. I hope that Sasuke Uchiha shows himself to be stronger than you. Naruto did everything he could to move, but it wasn't doing any good. If that was just normal pain, he knew that he could power through it and get up to start fighting again, but this was different. It was like his own body was betraying him. Come on, I have to get up. He struggled, managing to get back on his knees, looking furiously at Dosu's face. Die, Naruto Uzumaki. Dosu readied his arm, ready to strike Naruto again with his jutsu. Kin couldn't bear to watch that anymore. She loved Naruto more than anything, and he was her master, so she owed him total obedience. But at that moment, it was like those two things conflicted within the girl. Her love told her that the correct thing to do was to sacrifice herself for him, but the servitude imposed by the mind domination jutsu forbid her from acting on it. And as she watched the sound ninja ready himself to take Naruto's life, something snapped in her mind. Her unyielding love for Naruto managed to miraculously break the control of the mind domination jutsu. Stop! Yelled Kin, making Dosu suddenly stop. Huh! He looked back at the black-haired girl, her face showing incredible sadness, pain and determination all at the same time. I've made my decision, said her, pain all over her voice. I'll trade my life for Naruto's. Kin. No! Naruto screamed desperate. What the hell was happening? He gave her a direct order to not do it. Huh, is that so? Dosu then walked a bit away from Naruto. Show us then, I'm waiting. Kin looked at Naruto in the eyes, hers were full of sorrow. Naruto, she started to speak, as tears started to come down in her face. The time I spent with you was short, but let me tell you this, she readied the kunai, pointing it at her own chest, her hands trembling. It was the happiest time of my entire life. Once more, faint smile appeared on her face, but this time, it was happy. Looks like I won't be able to go to that ramen shop with you after all. Her hands started to tremble less and less. But still, thank you Naruto, thank you for everything. Kin. No. Naruto screamed helplessly, using all of his strength to get up on his feet. Naruto, I love you. And as she said that, she plunged the kunai in her chest, and soon, a small puddle of blood started to form in the area, as the girl slowly fell to the ground. No, it took a while for Naruto to register what had just happened, and tears soon started to fill his own eyes as well. Huh, she really did it, said Dosu, amused. Honestly, I didn't think she had in it her. He then looked at Naruto. You're lucky Naruto Uzumaki, you get to live another day, said him, turning his back and walking in Kin's direction to retrieve his kunai. Suddenly, Naruto saw himself in a dark room, filled with water to his knees and massive prison cell in front of him. Two red eyes, filled with hatred and unyielding anger, stared at the miserable boy outside. Boy, what brings you here? Asked a terrifying voice, coming from inside the cell. Naruto looked at the red eyes. I want to crush him, I want to him. Those were the only things Naruto could say, referring to Dosu. You want to someone. The voice seemed amused at that. If that is it, I can help you. The eyes got closer. You just have to accept my help. Naruto didn't even flinch. I'll do anything if that means I can get to that bastard. The voice chuckled. Very well then, it said, the level of the water increasing to Naruto's waist. I'll give you a bit of my power. Dosu was on his way to retrieve the kunai that Kin had taken, until he heard Naruto getting back in his feet. Huh, you can still move, said Dosu, as he turned back and saw Naruto, who still looked at the ground. And then, Naruto shifted his gaze and then looked at Dosu dead in the eyes, but this time it wasn't Naruto's normal blue eyes, the eyes were red and full of hate, much like those of the thing behind the iron bars. Red energy, visible even to the eye, started to emanate from Naruto's body. Much like the miasma emanated by the curse mark, but even more aggressive than that. What the hell? Dosu took a step back. What is this power? This time, I swear that I'll you. Naruto grunted, enraged like never before, even more than when Sasuke had seemingly been by Haku. Don't get why, answered Dosu, readying his speaker. No matter how strong, you can't defend against the sound itself. Oh yeah, said Naruto. The orange ninja then readied both his fingers and, with one fell swoop, thrusted them both each inside one of his ear holes. With full force, crushing his eardrums in the process. Blood spilled from his ears after doing that, but Naruto didn't even seem to care. Dosu took another step back after seeing that. Are you insane? He asked, fear starting to creep up on him. But Naruto couldn't hear him anymore. The orange ninja then bit his thumb, did a few hand signs and then yelled. Summoning Jutsu. As soon as his hand touched the ground, a massive brown snake emerged from the puff of smoke, the creature quickly sliding its way towards Dosu with its enormous mouth open, ready to swallow him whole. Having his speed increased by the curse mark, Dosu managed to dodge the first move of the snake and throw a few kunai with explosive tags at it, making the snake blow up and disappear, but he didn't know that was just a diversion. And before he knew it, Naruto rushed at him preparing a ferocious punch, and all the sound ninja could do was to put his speaker arm in front of himself to protect himself. And as the devastating punch hit the speaker, it automatically crushed it, destroying it and making scraps and pieces of it fall all over the room. But that was not all. The impact was so strong that it broke Dosu's forearm and sent him flying at full force in the direction of the wall, which he hit, making a crater on it, and subsequently falling to the ground. Dosu managed to get on his knees, severely hurting because of his arm, looking terrified at Naruto. What the hell are you? Asked him, with nowhere to run. But Naruto still couldn't hear him because of the damage to his ears. And the enraged orange ninja walked slowly in Dosu's direction, bent on ending his life in the most painful way possible. With the sound ninja cornered against the wall, like a rat. And once Naruto got in front of the terrified Dosu, he grabbed him by the neck and shoved him against the wall, readying a punch with his free hand. You? Dosu looked at him, still unable to accept that his life was about to end. He remembered that stupid kid in the Chunin exams, like how cheerful he was, how he had called everyone out in the classroom saying that he was going to be Hokage. Was it really the same person? And then he remembered Gaara of the desert, those eyes, their eyes were the same. And with that, Naruto started to wail on him. Naruto punched and punched his face against the wall multiple times with incredible strength, making Dosu scream in pain. The power was so great that the wall behind Dosu started to crack, and once Naruto mustered all his power and delivered one final blow, finally breaking Dosu's neck in the process, he shattered the wall too, sending the corpse of the sound ninja flying to the outside. It was then that Naruto realized that the sky wasn't clear anymore. Dense clouds of rain now had obscured the moon and the stars. And as the red energy started to dissipate, Naruto remembered Kin and went running towards her. The damage to the building had been too great, so the roof also started to come down around him. And as he reached Kin, he saw her, lying on the ground, a serene expression on her face, her eyes closed as if she was just sleeping, not a hint of regret on her face. And with her on his arms, Naruto knelt and broke down once more, crying more than he ever had in his entire life. At the time, rain started to fall, confusing his tears with the water drops. "Kin, wake up," he yelled, unwilling to accept it. "Wake up, damn it," he sobbed as he yelled at her. "I'm here with you now." Soon, Sakura, Ino and Anko would arrive at the place. Ino gasped and put her hands on her mouth as she saw what was happening. Anko looked at that with a serious expression on her face. And Sakura slowly walked to Naruto's side, crouching down and putting her hand at his shoulder. "Naruto," said her, in a compassionate tone. Now Naruto could hear normally, the red energy had healed all his injuries. "I failed her, Sakura," said the cheerful orange ninja. "It's my fault, I shouldn't have used that stupid jutsu on her. She'd still be alive." Naruto blamed himself, trying his best to reason his way out of feeling that pain that filled his heart. "It's not your fault, Naruto," said Sakura, grabbing his hand and holding it hard. "We did our best." Anko then approached the couple, and knelt down, putting her head at Kin's chest to hear her heartbeat. However, even if in the surface everything seemed like a decisive victory, for Naruto, it was little more than just a white piece. Rescuing Kintsuchi had been the prime objective of the infiltration, and they did bring her back alive, but things, as always, weren't so simple. As soon as they got back to the Leaf, Naruto went straight to the hospital with Kins on his arms. The medical ninja soon noticed that she was in critical condition and had to undergo a long surgery on the spot. Sakura, Anko and Ino had went to sort out this mess with the village's authorities. And Naruto waited on the hospital halls. He waited for hours on end, and when everything was finally over as Kin's life was out of risk, things still didn't go as expected for the orange ninja. He looked to the ground, defeated, after hearing what the medic had to say. "Can you please repeat that?" asked Naruto, avoiding to look at the doctor in the face. The medic ninja looked at the boy, his eyes full of empathy. "She's in a coma," said him, with a heavy heart. "Your friend's life is out the line," but, he waited a few seconds before continuing. "Whatever she went through in the recent past may have been too much for her brain to handle. Right now, she's basically a prisoner of her own mind, and there's no way to know when she'll wake up, or even if she ever will actually wake up." "I see," said Naruto, devastated. He wasn't as broken as earlier. All the time in the hallway had allowed for him to do plenty of soul searching, but he still couldn't help but partly blame himself for what had happened to the girl. "So, there's nothing you can do?" "I'm afraid not," confirmed the medic ninja. "A medical genius may have been able to work something out, but those aren't that easy to come by. There aren't even that many medical ninja around." A medical genius? Naruto had never heard of anything like that, but he decided to save that conversation for later. He had more pressing matters at that time. "I understand, thanks for everything, Doc," said Naruto, in a sad tone of voice. "Can I see her at least?" "Don't mention, I'm just doing my job." The medical ninja forced a smile. "She's already recovering from the surgery, so you can visit her just fine. Her room is over there." The medic pointed to a door in the end of the hallway, to where Naruto quickly made his way to. Seeing Kin like that made Naruto unsure of what to feel. He was, of course, relieved that Kin was still alive, but this. Could her state really be called living? That thought tormented the orange ninja as he watched her laying comatose in the hospital bed. At first glance, it seemed like she was just sleeping. Naruto spent the night at the hospital watching over her, but he knew that at some point he'd have to leave, and he did so in the morning, heading home to eat with a heavy heart. But still, after everything he went through, Naruto realized something. He would never, ever, let something similar happen to anyone else he cared about, and he'd ensure that by any means necessary. And he wouldn't be made a fool of by the Hokage ever again. Only he knew what was best for himself and his group, of that he was certain. Interlude. Hiruzen Sarutobi was livid when he heard the news of what had happened. He knew that he'd have to punish Anko and the three genin at some point for acting on their own and for going against his orders. That was his duty. However, the crashing of that secret Sound Village hideout, in the end, was a good thing, because the Sound wasn't allowed to maintain military bases on the Land of Fire, so the diplomatic fallout of the attack would in fact favor the Leaf in light of the other nations. And there were no Leaf ninja casualties on the mission either. As far as missions in the same style go, that execution had been exceptional. And also, the third Hokage, despite everything, wasn't a bad man, and still held a soft spot for Naruto, the child of Minato Namikaze. So he decided to reward him for his efforts by officially welcoming Kin into the ranks of the Leaf for all that was worth. However, that still wasn't enough for Naruto. The third's actions regarding Kin had made Naruto grow to resent him. The Orange Ninja blamed him for not being able to keep Kin safe and for refusing to go after her. At this point, Naruto didn't want anything to do with the old Hokage anymore. On the matter of the punishment for Naruto and his group, the Hokage decided to wait until the end of the Chunin exams to deal with that. After all, he had enough on his plate already at that time. Eventually, Naruto's emotional pain would start to diminish little by little, and he then went back to training for the Chunin exams finals with Anho, Ino and Sakura. He'd visit Kin in the hospital every now and then, but there wasn't anything else he could do other than that. When the day of the finals came, Naruto fought and defeated Neji Hyuga, avenging his friend Hinata. Being more used to tapping into the nine-tailed fox's power and doing it from the start, the blonde ninja managed to beat Neji with certain ease. Shikamaru Nara defeated Tamari of the Sand, and Sasuke's fight against Gaara was interrupted by an expected Sand Village attack on the Leaf. The extra information that Kin had brought to the table made the village slightly more prepared for the attack, but still, the inaction of Danzo's route in the invasion was still a big hit to the Leaf's power. And the Hokage died in the battle against Orochimaru. At the climax of the battle for the Leaf, Naruto would face off against Gaara and the Shukaku. Naruto would win by using, once again, a combination of summoning jutsu and tapping into the Nine Tails power. However, his win over Gaara would only make the Sand Jinchuriki grow to resent him. After all, this Naruto was already different from how he was a few months back, and trying to talk down clearly malicious people just wasn't his style anymore. The experiences he went through after learning the mind domination jutsu had changed him. Chapter 10. Naruto had just finished eating through a few bowls of ramen that night. After finishing, he paid for his food and started to make his way back home. However, along the way, he was stopped by a duo of Anbu Black Ops ninja. Naruto Uzumaki, Danzo Shimura wishes to see you, said one of them, in a serious tone. The Orange Ninja raised an eyebrow at that. Danzo, never heard of him, answered Naruto, intrigued. What does he want with me? The Anbu Ninja waited a few instants before talking. It's urgent, regarding Kin Tsuchi, said the masked ninja, knowing that Naruto would take the bait. After that, there was no way Naruto wasn't going to meet up with this Danzo. They blindfolded the Orange Ninja and took him to Root HQ. When they took off the blindfold, Naruto saw himself in a small room face to face with the man himself, Danzo. It's good to finally meet you, Naruto Uzumaki, said Danzo, looking at Naruto's eyes. My name is Danzo Shimura, I'm an elder for the Leaf Village. Naruto looked around, and then started talking. An elder? If you're such a legit bigwig like that, then why all the secrecy? Asked Naruto. And what's this about Kin? Danzo retained his serious expression. All will be answered in due time, said the elder. I've been keeping an eye on you for quite some time now. So you were spying on me? Interrupted Naruto. First things first, I'd like to apologize for the third Hokage's actions regarding Kin Tsuchi. He was a good but short-sighted man, and his leadership skills were clearly dwindling with his old age, said Danzo, trying to get on Naruto's good side. Yeah, whatever. Naruto looked away, not wanting to talk about Hiruzen. It's also a shame what happened to Kintsuchi. She gave us valuable information that greatly helped the village repel the recent attack. Danzo said it with a straight face, despite not having deployed his own forces to counter the invasion. Just get to the point, what do you want with me and what does it have to do with Kin? Said Naruto, annoyed. Let's just say that I've grown to respect you. Lied Danzo. Your coordination of though on that sound outpost was incredible, not to mention that you went against Hiruzen's orders, that was clearly the right thing to do at the time. You're clearly a talented ninja and ain't it to our village. Danzo didn't mean most of what he said, but he lied so perfectly that it seemed like he did mean it. And as such, I've went to great lengths to search for a way in which Kintsuchi can recover from her condition. The old man walked closer to Naruto. Isn't that in your best interests? Naruto's heart skipped a beat after hearing that. It is, answered him. You can really heal Kin. Not me, but I want you to help me find a person who can. Danzo stopped very close to Naruto, looking at him dead in the eyes. However, I want you to do something for me in return. Just say it, I'd do anything if it means saving her. Naruto was determined. Anything? Asked Danzo, in a serious tone of voice. Anything, confirmed Naruto. Even assassination, comma. The room went silent. It took a few instants for Naruto to understand the implications of what Danzo just asked and a few more for him to answer. You want me to someone for you? Naruto took a step back, cautious. Indeed, said Danzo. You're a shinobi, sooner or later you'd have to perform assassination. And keep in mind that my request is for the good of the Leaf Village, think of it as a mission. Naruto stood silent. The target is Tsunade Senju, she's the granddaughter of the first Hokage and one of the legendary Sannin. She's also the medical ninja with the necessary skills to heal Kintsuchi. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What? Why would I her then? Naruto asked, confused. Because the other elders want her to take up the position of Hokage, and I know for sure that she's not the right person to shoulder a huge responsibility like that. Danzo hit the ground with his cane. Tsunade Senju is an alcoholic and has a gambling addiction, not to mention that she left the village and hasn't come back in long time. How can a person like that be even considered? This time Danzo meant every word. He was disgusted at the idea of Tsunade becoming Hokage and not him. And so, I concluded that assassinating her would be well within the village's best interests. Danzo smirked. Sometimes going against the chain of command is the right thing to do, don't you think so too? Naruto looked to the side, realizing what Danzo was referring to. I will send you to find Tsunade. You are to gain her trust and bring her back to the village. She will heal your friend Kin and after that, you'll make her disappear. Wait a minute, said Naruto, noticing a glaring flaw on Danzo's plan. How do you expect me to be able to lay a finger on her if she's coming back to the village to become Hokage? The Anbu would bust me right away. She will be back at the village, but she won't take the position, of that I'm sure. Explained the old man. Tsunade would never want to become Hokage, no matter how much the elders insist, and oh they will insist for a long time that the village doesn't have. That's why I want to get rid of her. Naruto looked down, still unsure. So, Naruto Uzumaki, will you do it? It was a hard decision to make, but at that point, Naruto was already too far gone. He was a criminal, and there was way too much at stake here. He had to say yes. The next morning, Naruto was preparing himself mentally to go on his search for Tsunade next week. He was really stressed out lately, and with Sakura, Ino and Anko being really busy because of the village's reconstruction, he was also very pent up. So, he decided to take a morning walk through the neighborhood, where he'd be stopped a feisty kunoichi with brown hair and buns. Hey Naruto, what's up? Said the girl, with a smile. Hey, you're that girl from Bushy Brow's team, right? Answered Naruto, with a foxy expression. The name's Tenten, said her, a bit frustrated that he didn't even remember her name. Oh yeah, that was it. Naruto put his hands on his pockets. What are you up to? I'm looking for a sparring partner. Guy-sensei is too busy to train me and Lee and Neji aren't really in any condition to spar. Tenten made a devious smirk. Tell you what, I think I just found my sparring partner. She looked at Naruto as she said that. Naruto's eyes widened. Me? Why me though? We barely know each other. Asked the knucklehead ninja. Well, it's true that I wouldn't have asked that of you a few weeks back. Said the kunoichi. Honestly, I always thought you were just some loser. Geez, thanks a lot. Naruto gave her a foxy look, annoyed. But after seeing the way you destroyed Neji in that fight, I was really impressed. Tenten chuckled. That was really cool. I honestly didn't think that you out of all of the exam participants had what it takes to defeat Neji like that, and I heard you beat that Gaara too, that's why I want to train with you. Naruto still wasn't convinced. But Tenten wasn't about to let her new crush escape their training session. Oh, come on, said Tenten, a bit annoyed. It was you who beat up Neji and now he can't train with me, so take responsibility already. Naruto thought that was some really weird logic there, but he wasn't up to argue with that girl, and she was pretty cute too, so he decided to accept. The duo left to the training field and started their training. Tenten's taijutsu and skill with ninja weapons was a little bit above Naruto's, but the orange ninja made up with his trickery and unorthodox battle tactics. In the end, without the use of Naruto's shadow clones, they were about even in battle. At some point while they fought, Naruto tripped and fell right on top of Tenten. The situation was a bit awkward, with them staring at each other's faces for a few instants. Tenten blushed a bit. Sorry, I tripped, said Naruto, in an awkward tone. It happens, answered her, avoiding to look at him in the eyes. I wish he didn't already have a girlfriend, muttered Tenten. What was that? Asked Naruto, only hearing it partially. Nothing, answered the kunoichi, immediately. So, can we get back to training now? Naruto didn't want to do this. With each girl he casted the jutsu on, the more responsibility he'd have to shoulder, but he was way too pent up, so his was talking louder than his brain at that moment. Without bothering to answer Tenten's question, Naruto stole a kiss from her, immediately activating the mind domination jutsu while at it. When he was finished, he got off Tenten. The girl then looked at him, blushing but with a seductive look at the same time. Well, master, aren't you a bold one? Said her, looking at his eyes. Just keep calling me Naruto. The orange ninja was already taking off his clothes. You know what I want, let's get on with it. Tenten nodded and started to take off her shirt and pants. While she did it, Naruto couldn't help but notice that she had the most athletic body out of all the girls he'd been with. Her was firm and round, although not as naturally big as Sakura's. Her S were small, about the same size as Kin's. Her abs were toned and her legs were amazing. With them both, Tenten couldn't help but look at Naruto's raging erection. That turned her on a lot. Come, help me ease this tension, Tenten, said Naruto, with a grin. The brown-haired kunoichi then started to give him head, ing his and balls. As usual for virgins like her, her blowjob skill was surely lacking, especially when compared to someone like Anko, but she made up for it with her dirty talk, which turned Naruto on like crazy. You're as amazing, said her, as she stroked his shaft with her hand. I want it inside me so much, said her with a seductive tone as she continued ing and licking it. She also started to know the same with his balls. That was too much for Naruto, his climax was fast approaching. I'm about to cum, said the blonde ninja. Cum all over me, Naruto, she said as the orange ninja shot wave after wave of pent-up jizz all over her S. Naruto was bewildered in the afterglow of that orgasm. It felt like all his frustrations were leaving his body alongside the semen. It was amazing. Right after that, Tenten got on top of Naruto, straddling him. Let's continue our training session, said her, in a seductive tone. Damn right, Naruto answered as he grabbed her cheeks and slammed his heart inside her, making her start to moan loudly. And so they started going at it like crazy, with Tenten riding him like stallion. Soon, Naruto would get close to coming again, but the couple had forgotten that they were doing that in quite the public location. They noticed that someone was coming and had to hide in a nearby bush, making so that Naruto couldn't finish. A trio of Leaf Village genin showed up, as usual, 2 boys and 1 girl. They were completely oblivious to Naruto and Tenten's presence, but they did find their clothes. "Hey, what's up with these clothes?" asked the genin girl, picking up Tenten's shirt. One of the boys gave her a naughty grin. "Well, it seems like one of them it's a male outfit and the other is female, so, yeah," said him, making the girl blush. "I think we should find another spot," said the other guy, feeling a bit awkward. Tenten was feeling incredibly embarrassed in the bush with Naruto, but they were both incredibly horny, they needed to finish their business. They waited a few minutes until the trio finally left. "Sheesh, that was close," said Naruto, whispering to Tenten. "Come with me, Naruto, I know a spot where we won't be bothered by anyone," said her, taking Naruto's hand and rushing with him on the forest. "Wait, but what about our clothes?" asked the knucklehead ninja. Tenten took him to a nice waterfall nearby. She laid Naruto flat on his back in the ground and quickly inserted his on herself. "You want my that much?" asked Naruto, having fun. "You have no idea," said her, as she started to violently ride him and bounce her hips, all the while moaning like crazy. "Yeah, that's the spot. Harder, Naruto." The girl was basically yelling at that point. Good thing there weren't anybody else around this time. Naruto grabbed her as he ed her hard, until both their orgasms started to get close. "I'm coming," yelled Naruto. Naruto was also given a picture of Tsunade to help in the search. However, by Naruto's calculations she should be way older than what she appeared to be in the photo. There, she looked like an 18-year-old girl. But Danzo explained that she used Jutsu to change her physical appearance and that she currently would probably not be all that far off from what she was in the old photo. With everything ready, Naruto called another meeting with his group in order to decide who would accompany him on that new mission. Anko, being a special Junin, was incredibly busy with the reconstruction, so Naruto decided it wasn't a good idea to bring her along this time. However, a new girl had been added to the team, Tenten. So, it was decided that she'd be filling up Anko's spot on the team for that particular mission. However, not having a Junin or a Chunin in the team meant that Naruto would have to actually lead this time instead of relying on Anko. He also got a hefty sum of money from Danzo to cover the mission expenses. With the 4-man squad assembled once again, Naruto waited patiently for the day where they would once again leave the village for an important mission. The orange ninja was incredibly determined to get a cure for Kin, but something about Danzo simply didn't sit right with him. But he just couldn't put his finger on just what it was at this time. "Everyone ready?" asked Naruto, looking at his 3 squad members while they prepared to take off in front of the village gate. Sakura, Ino and Tenten all nodded to that. The orange ninja then continued to give his last reminders for the mission. "We'll be going from town to town searching for Tsunade Senju and Harastant. When we find them, we convince them to get back to the village," said Naruto, still struggling a bit to get his commanding tone right. "That geezer Danzo told us to limit our search to the land of fire only, so we gotta be careful not to cross any borders accidentally and waste time." Once again, all the girls nodded. "Good, then we can go," declared Naruto, starting to make his way alongside the road in the forest. The girls walking right behind him. They walked at a normal pace, not running but also not taking their time. The morning was spent all crossing the thick woods that surrounded the Leaf Village, concealing it from most unsuspecting people. There were no incidents and the weather was pretty nice, sunny and windy, without many clouds in the blue sky. Eventually the group would stop at a clearing to have their lunch. Everyone took out a few rice balls and chatted while they ate them and rested. "You know, I'm actually excited about meeting Lady Tsunade," said Tenten, after swallowing a rice ball. "She was one of the reasons I became a kunoichi. I wanted to be just like her. It's sad that she's gonna have to die." Finished her, a bit bummed. I'm not too happy about that either, said Naruto, with a suspicious look. There's gotta be more to this story, but still, for the moment let's focus on convincing her to come back to heel kin and bushy brow. Naruto got up on his feet. Let's see if we can figure out more about this assassination business along the way. I remember my dad saying that Danzo is bad news, commented Ino, with a worried expression. He was constantly locking horns with the third Hokage over the smallest things. My dad also said that there are all sorts of nasty rumors about him being involved in shady businesses, still, nothing that can be proved. Those rumors being real or not, it's still strange how low profile he is despite having all that power. He's an elder, and yet most people in the village don't even know what exactly is his deal, said Sakura. Anyway, in my opinion we should be careful when dealing with him. Yeah, I agree, said Naruto, looking at the sky in a contemplative way. He wondered if more pieces would be added to that puzzle once the group found Tsunade. The four-man squad continued their journey after lunch. The next day and the one after it were much the same. It was only in the late afternoon of the fourth day that the group found themselves in the first town where they would begin their search. Luckily for them, they arrived just at the middle of a festival. The streets were full of people and there were all kinds of fun stands around. The squad was standing at the front gate of the town, about to enter it. A festival, huh? Said Sakura, with a happy expression. It's gonna be great for asking around. Yeah, it will, said Naruto, picking up photos of Tsunade in his pockets and giving them to the girls. We're gonna split up and ask around for about 2 hours. After that, we meet back up at this same spot to share the results, okay? Everyone nodded, and quickly split up, each one going to a different part of town. On his own, Naruto decided to start at the town center. Hey, sorry to bother you, have you seen the women in this pic around here? Asked Naruto, showing the picture to a drunk old man. Can't say I have, kid, said the man, stumbling around. Asking around was boring for Naruto, incredibly boring. Especially with a festival going around him, he wished that he didn't have a mission to do and could just have fun around the place, but he knew that he couldn't do it because of his promise. But would it hurt to go out of his way to have fun just for a bit? Eventually, while asking around, Naruto would bump into Ino. The blonde kunoichi looked a bit under the weather. Hey Ino, something happened? Asked Naruto, with a concerned tone. I'm just bored and tired, sigh. Ino sat in a nearby park bench. I just wish we could enjoy a bit out the festival instead of just working. It happens only once a year. Yeah, I feel you, answered Naruto. But we can't slack off on this one, it's very important, you know. Ino looked at him with sad puppy eyes. Making Naruto sigh, she knew that her master was big softy besides everything. Alright, I guess we can take one detour, said Naruto, fully aware that he was being manipulated. Yes. Ino stood up, all the sadness instantly disappearing from her face. She then grabbed his hand and took him to a seer's tent. They each paid up and entered the place. Each one got one question to ask the seer, not that they believed that his answers would be accurate anyway, they were just there for fun. Okay, I want to know if I'm gonna get even prettier than now when I get older, asked Ino, very excited. The seer did a few hand movements and looked concentrated at his crystal ball, trying to make it seem like he was seeing something in there. Young lady, the spirits tell me that you'll only grow in beauty, like a flower that blooms forever, he said, doing his best to make a mysterious tone of voice. I knew it. Ino hugged Naruto, happy with her results. It's your turn to ask now, Naruto. Alright, let me think. Naruto thought on his question for a bit, trying to avoid any heavy themes. Will I be Hokage someday? The seer once again did the weird movements around the crystal ball. The spirits tell me that you have an unmatched potential inside you, young man, said the seer, but he wasn't done yet. However, you must beware of what lies beneath the lush green trees. Naruto was a bit confused by the vagueness of the seer's answer, but didn't think much of it. Being vague was the trick they used to get a bunch of predictions right anyway. After leaving the tent, Naruto parted ways with Ino and made his way to another part of the town. This time, he bumped into Tenten, who was asking around a stand of throwing darts. People had to throw them correctly and they'd win prizes. "Hey Tenten," asked Naruto, approaching her. "Figures you'd be asking around here," he said, referring to the throwing darts stand. "Naruto," said her, opening up a smile. "Hey, remember that day I asked you to come train with me?" Naruto didn't like where this was going, but decided to play along. "Yeah, I do," said him, raising an eyebrow. "That day we spent more time, having fun, than actually training, so now you owe me." Tenten had a devious smile. "And I'll forgive you if you can beat me in a game of darts. Whoever gets more points gets all of the losers' prizes." Naruto sighed again. He should have seen this coming. He didn't really want to go along with that, but since he had done an exception for Ino, it was only fair he did for Tenten as well. "Alright, let's get on with it." And so the game started, and as expected, Tenten destroyed Naruto. Her obsession for ninja weapons made it so that her aim with them vastly outclassed the orange ninja, who had to give her all of the prizes he had gotten there. "Sweet. I wonder if there's some pawn shop around where I can sell these. I saw some really pretty clothes I wanted to buy on the stands," said Tenten, smiling while carrying massive bags of prizes. "I knew this would happen." Naruto was a bit frustrated he didn't get to keep any of the prizes, but still, he had fun. "Hey, don't feel bad," said Tenten, trying to cheer him up a bit. "Tell you what, how does a consolation prize sound?" she asked. "A what?" Naruto was interrupted by Tenten shutting him up with a kiss on the lips. "Feeling better now?" she asked, after the kiss. "Much better, but you know I could just order you to give me the prizes, right?" Naruto said, with a foxy grin. Tenten gasped. "I totally forgot that," said her, mouth agape. Naruto didn't do that though. They both went their separate ways to continue asking around. The orange ninja, once again, had no luck finding any information about Tsunade. It was almost time for the meetup and Naruto still didn't have anything. Maybe she just wasn't in this town, he thought, but since there was still some time left, he decided to head for the hill overlooking the place to get a better feel of the geography of the place. The hill was pretty quiet, and the view of the city was beautiful. The gleaming lights from the festival made it seem like the place was one big sea of light and fun. Kinda warmed Naruto's heart. However, he didn't expect to find Sakura there, looking at the town from the hilltop. "Sakura, hey, what's up?" asked Naruto, approaching the Pinkett. "Hey, I guess we both had the same idea," commented her, smiling at Naruto. "Any luck so far?" asked her. "Not at all," answered Naruto, looking down. Same," said the Pinkett, noticing how frustrated Naruto was that they hadn't found anything yet. "Why don't we stick around for a bit?" suggested the Kunoichi, with a caring expression. "I heard the fireworks are about to start." Naruto waited a few instants before replying. "I guess it couldn't hurt," said him. And so Sakura held hands with him as they watched the beautiful fireworks paint the night sky in all sorts of colors. It was incredibly beautiful. It even made Naruto start to feel a little bit better about everything that was happening. "It's been a while since we did those normal couple things," commented Sakura, grabbing Naruto's arm. "Yeah, after we got back from the Forest of Death we didn't have much time to relax," said Naruto, still looking at the fireworks. "I'm still your girlfriend, right?" asked the pink-haired girl, a bit concerned. "Lately we haven't had much time together, just the two of us, so I was wondering if you had moved on from me." Naruto chuckled. "Don't worry, I won't lie that I also have very real feelings for the other girls. But I won't forget that you were my first, not ever. You're my girlfriend Sakura, and I don't see that changing anytime soon," he explained, in a reassuring tone of voice. Sakura left her grip on his arm and kissed him under the light of the fireworks, with the young couple making out passionately for quite some time. Eventually, the time for everyone to gather at the town gate came, and Naruto and Sakura made their way there. Ino and Tenten were already expecting them. So, anybody got any useful info? Asked Naruto, a bit concerned. All the girls said no, feeling a bit embarrassed themselves. All right then I guess she's probably not in this town. Concluded Naruto. We'll get some rest and tomorrow we get back on the road. Ino quickly interrupted Naruto after that. Hey, I heard that the festival is gonna go on all night. She had a naughty expression on her face. How about we all go drinking after dinner? Naruto widened his eyes at that. Drinking. But, don't worry. Ino interrupted again. Nobody knows us in this place, plus, we have the money. I'm sure there won't be any trouble if we go looking for booze at the right places. Naruto wasn't convinced in the slightest. Has anyone here actually ever drank alcohol in their lives? He asked, already knowing what the answers would be. That's why I think tonight is the perfect opportunity. She was being really insistent. Come on, I'm sure you can protect us if we get into any trouble. She was looking at Naruto with puppy dog eyes again, low blow. Alright, but be careful with how much you drink, said the orange ninja, remembering what booze had done to Anko in that one night. The group had dinner first, some ramen at a local restaurant. Naruto liked it but said it wasn't as good as the Ichiraku, also it was more expensive. After that, the squad went to a few bars who would sell them booze. Eventually, they found one who did and they started drinking. Naruto and the girls did their best not to drink too much and get drunk, but their lack of experiences made it so their efforts didn't amount to much. After just a few drinks everyone was already feeling tipsy. But Naruto was still very conscious, so he quickly paid the tab and got the girls out of the place before they would get too wasted. At the street, Naruto decided enough was enough. Alright, that's enough fun for tonight, said him. We really gotta hit the sack. Hey, how about we sleep at a hotel for tonight? Suggested a drunk Sakura. We're already gonna spend the night in the town anyway. With them all being ninjas, they were used to sleeping outdoors, but still, nothing came close to sleeping in a bed with a roof atop your head. Hey, let's not get too crazy here, said Naruto, still a bit wary. We're not on vacation, this is supposed to be a ninja mission. We're not on vacation, if not it sure looked like we were with all the fun we had today, said a drunk Ino, in a sarcastic tone. Okay then, how are we gonna pay for all of us to stay at a hotel? Genin aren't exactly known for being well paid, answered an annoyed Naruto, worried for the safety of his wallet. Froggy. We could use that cash Danzo gave you, suggested Tenten. Wasn't that supposed to be used to cover our mission expenses? But that's not necessary, said Naruto, doing his best to explain it and fight the alcohol inside him, whispering for him to go for the hotel. That cash is to pay off people for information and to bribe our way out of trouble if needed. The girls still hadn't given up, and even though Naruto had drank the least, he gave in to their demands. After all, deep inside, he did really want to go to a hotel too. Naruto never had any experience and so much fun in his life before the girls, before the mind domination jutsu. And with each passing day, Naruto got a better grasp of what he truly wanted to protect and fight for in his life. And so the group went looking for some inn or hotel that they could use, but unfortunately, most of them were already fully booked out because of the festival. Naruto was about to give up when they decided to try one last time at what seemed to be the biggest luxury hotel in town. There was only one room left, and it was called the Royal Lounge. It was the biggest room in the place and it was expensive as all hell, but still, at this point of drunkenness, Naruto had no qualms over spending almost all of the mission money Danzo gave him to book the Royal Lounge for the night. He was so drunk he even forgot to ask the hotel clerks about Tsunade. The group was in awe when they entered the place. It was the biggest and most luxurious hotel room any of them had ever seen in their lives. The bed was enormous, it had an amazing view of the city, It had a bath of its own, food. The whole package. The group played around and had some fun at the place, and eventually, decided they take a bath together before going to bed. The drunk girls took off their clothes without any shame at all, and the vision of all their bodies made Naruto get horny almost instantly. He got to and jumped in the bath with the girls, with them giggling after realizing how hard he already was. Ino and Sakura had their long hairs down. Tenten's hair was medium-sized without the hair buns. Sakura slowly moved to his side in the bath and put her hand at his underwater, starting to gently stroke it. "So Naruto, how is it gonna be tonight?" she asked, in a seductive tone. "You're gonna take all of us?" She kept stroking, the UAL pleasure filling Naruto's head alongside the alcohol. "That's the plan," he said, getting harder and harder by the minute. "I know you can handle me and forehead," said Ino, getting closer to him too. "But can you handle Tenten as well?" Naruto thought about that for a few instants, then had an idea. An idea only the number one, unpredictable knucklehead ninja could ever have. "Don't worry, I got that covered," said him, confident. Ino then started making out passionately with Naruto, ing his tongue and biting softly on his lips. Tenten quickly approached him too and started to lick Naruto's torso as she fingered her with her left hand, which made him even harder. Feeling that he was about to cum, he asked for the girls to stop. He didn't want to cum underwater. "Let's move this to the bed, we're already pretty warmed up," said Naruto, getting out of the bath. The girls, all of them just as horny, went straight to the bed as they waited for Naruto. "Here I go, Shadow Clone Jutsu," said him, as he made the hand signs making two other Narutos come out of puffs of smoke. The girls giggled as each Naruto jumped on top of one of them and instantly started to make out. One Naruto was already ramming his into Sakura's in missionary position, as he kissed her and held her hands. The girl moaned between kisses as she felt Naruto's shaft ravage the insides of her. Another Naruto, after pulling out from the kiss with Tenten, bent the girl over in a very rough movement and grabbed her firm cheeks, spreading them to reveal her butthole, where Naruto would insert his rock hard, making the girl scream in a mixture of pleasure and pain. However, the pain would gradually disappear as her hole would get used to Naruto's penetrating it and she would only feel pleasure as he ed her hard. The final Naruto was having Ino ride his rock hard. The orange ninja thrusted his inside her with incredible force as he grabbed her in the hips. Eventually, Naruto would pull her down towards him and start to her, stopping to thrust his inside her. Fully intoxicated by pleasure, Ino started to move her hips on her own and Naruto herself. Eventually, everyone would orgasm and every Naruto would creampie the girl they were ing. But still, that wasn't nearly enough to satisfy all that mind domination jutsu and alcohol enhanced libido. With another hand sign and mad with pleasure, Naruto created 6 more shadow clones. 3 for each girl. There was barely even any space left in the bed at that point. One clone would be below the girls and them on the, another would be behind them and them in the butt, and another would be in front of the girls to get his ed. The moaning and yelling that resulted from that wild orgy was unreal. The clones ed the girls in her holes as hard as they could, and the girls ed their s like their lives depended on it, desperate for UAL release. They went at it for hours on end, not caring in the slightest about the noise or the mesa they were making. Naruto didn't even had the willpower to scold Ino for having convinced him into allowing all that happened last night to happen. And worst of all, they were penniless, and they only had until tonight to leave the hotel or they'd be kicked out. It's safe to say that Naruto wasn't in a very good mood, so he mostly kept to himself as he powered through the morning while sleeping in the bed as the sickness slowly went away. By the early afternoon, everyone was feeling better, so Naruto called everyone to the hotel's rooftop to discuss their next move. Once everyone gathered there, a very awkward silence ensued, with Ino looking down with a guilty expression on her face. "Sorry," said the girl, finally gathering enough courage to look at Naruto in the eyes. "Don't worry, It's as much your fault as it's mine for having allowed it to happen. I'm supposed to be the squad leader after all," said Naruto, despite still looking a bit annoyed. "Now, we have some more things to go over." As much of a bad experience as that had been, at least it had showed Naruto that he still had much to learn when it came to leadership and keeping his subordinates in line. "First off, we're totally broke," said Naruto, in a frustrated tone. "So from here on out we're gonna have to sleep outdoors and make our own food." Sakura noticed that Naruto was a bit down and joined the talk. "Well, at least that's all the more motivation for us to complete this mission quickly and go back to the village," said the pink kid in an optimistic tone. Speaking of which, Naruto interrupted. "We gotta get back to work right now, we already lost an entire morning." The orange ninja turned to look at the view of the town. "It's probably best if we get back on the road and head to the next town. I feel like we already asked around enough around here yesterday." The girls nodded, and as they were walking down the stairs to enjoy their last meal at the hotel's dining room, there she was. Two women who looked exactly like Tsunade and her aide Shizune in the picture that Naruto had been given by Danzo. "As that?" said Tenten, frozen in place. "Yeah," answered Naruto. "Let's go talk to her." It was a weird feeling for Naruto, to be looking at the person he'd eventually have to assassinate, with her also being the person who would probably treat Kin and heal her condition. The orange ninja didn't really know how to react. But what he did know, is that he'd have to approach her. So the group nervously approached Tsunade's table, as the veteran Kunoichi finally noticed them. "Hey, said Naruto, a bit nervous because of the stare he was receiving from her. "Are you Tsunade Senju?" She took a few instants before finally answering. "Yes." She analyzed the group, trying to figure them out. "You're Leaf Ninja if the headbands are something to go by. Did some loan shark hire you guys as debt collectors?" Tsunade opened up a menacing smirk. "Because if that's the case, I'd be more than happy to take this outside." "Lady Tsunade, please," said Shizune, in an apologetic tone. "I'm sure that there's no need for violence." Naruto sighed. This was gonna be tough. After a few minutes of explaining, Tsunade remained unimpressed and collected. "I'm not going," said her, nonchalantly. "I feel bad for you guys having spent all this time looking for me, but I don't have the slightest interest." The group spent more minutes arguing and trying to convince her, but it was no use, she wouldn't go and didn't seem to be willing to change her mind. The genin soon then left and went back to their table to discuss what to do next. "Having her come with us by normal means obviously isn't working, any suggestions?" asked the blonde leader, still ticked off about how stubborn Tsunade had been. None of the girls said anything for a while, until Ino started to talk. "Maybe you could casting the jutsu on her," she suggested. Naruto scratched his head after hearing that. She was really hot, and it's true that he had used the jutsu to get out of difficult situations before, but this time it was different. He was supposed to Tsunade in the future, even though he wasn't sure about that yet. It seemed like too much of a low blow, too underhanded even for him. "I don't know," said Naruto, with a foxy expression. "I mean, I could do that, but I really rather not. At least for now." Tenten then had an idea. "Then why not use it on that aide of hers? The lady with the black hair." Tenten looked confident. If anyone can convince Lady Tsunade, it's probably her. Naruto thought for a few instants about that. It made sense. "It's worth a try," said him, opening up a smirk. "Alright, I'll do it then." The group then decided on a plan. They would wait until Tsunade had left Shizune alone, and then Naruto would move in and try to get her to kiss him. They followed the two ladies around for a few hours in the afternoon, until Tsunade seemed to enter a gambling den that didn't allow for anyone other than the gambler to enter, leaving Shizune alone and disappointed on the outside. It was the perfect opportunity. Naruto then approached her alone. The black-haired lady quickly noticed her. "Hey there, how is it going?" Naruto asked, with a foxy grin. "Your name's Shizune, right?" The older woman made a soft smile. "That's right," said her. And you were Naruto from the Leaf Village if I remember correctly. The one and only. Naruto then decided to actually move on with the important matter. So, did that rude grandma ditch you here or what? Shizune made a worried face, looking down. I guess you could say that. Lady Tsunade often goes on these gambling sprees and sometimes I can't accompany her, even if that's my job as her aide. So I'll probably have to stay here until this place closes up late at night. She was clearly disappointed. She sure seems like a nasty old bat to me, commented Naruto, crossing his arms, making Shizune giggle a little. You shouldn't say that. Lady Tsunade is actually a really kind person, said Shizune, thinking that Naruto's attitude was kinda funny. Hard to believe that with how she treated us back in the hotel, geez, said the orange ninja. Shizune took a deep breath. It's just that Lady Tsunade has a lot of demons, said Shizune, with a bit of a sad tone. I wish you and your friends could have met her back in the day. Naruto found his opportunity. It was time to make a move. Huh, I'd like to hear that story, said him, looking at Shizune with a confident expression. Why don't we go eat out somewhere so that we can talk properly? Then you can tell me all about her and how she was. Shizune wanted to go, anything was better than the middle of the street, but was still hesitant. I don't know, Naruto, said the girl. I feel like I'd be neglecting my duties. What duties? Waiting in the middle of the street alone and doing nothing for hours? Asked him. Come on, it'll be fine. Hearing that, she finally gave in. All right then, let's go, she said, with a bit of a guilty smile. But we have to get back here before nighttime, okay? Sure, answered Naruto, confidently. The duo then made their way through the streets of the city, with Naruto feeling lucky that he wouldn't have to actually hunt for food or catch fishes. They soon reached a steakhouse, sat on a bit of an isolated table and ordered their food. So, how did you two meet? Asked Naruto, curious. I've known Lady Tsunade ever since I was a child. She knew my uncle, so she took me in as an apprentice after he passed away, said Shizune, in a nostalgic tone. Sorry for your loss, said Naruto, awkwardly. Don't worry about it, it's been a long time. Shizune then made a knowing smirk. So, Naruto, aren't you gonna ask me to try and convince Lady Tsunade to go back to the village? I know that's the reason you asked me out. Naruto was confused at first but he soon understood it. Shizune thought he only had asked her out to butter her up and make her convince Tsunade. She wasn't far from the truth, but that was not all there was to it. Shizune continued to speak. Honestly, I'd like it if she decided to go back to the village. She then sighed. But there's just no chance she'd ever agree. You're better off just giving that up now. That's, answered Naruto. But hey, at least I still get to hang out with a cute girl like you. Shizune giggled after hearing that. Aren't you a little womanizer? She commented. If you ask me out on a real date a few years from now I might just accept. Yeah, flattery wasn't gonna work, thought Naruto. He'd have to bring in the big guns, and put to test something very important he learned on his conquests. Naruto signaled for the waiter to come over. Hey, can you bring me some juice and sake for Shizune here? Said the boy. I don't think that's a good idea, said Shizune a bit worried. I shouldn't drink on the job. Naruto scoffed. Come on, you're not in the job right now, that old granny ditched you, don't you remember? Said Naruto, determined to make this happen. I guess you're right, admitted the black-haired woman. The waiter then brought the orders and they had a toast before continuing their conversation. So, tell me more about you, Naruto, asked Shizune in a casual way, having fun. Well, I like ramen a lot, said him. Also, I want to become Hokage someday. Hokage, huh? You dream big, reminds of me of Uncle Dan, Shizune said, noticing the similarities. You know what? I think you'd actually get along with Lady Tsunade if you gave each other a chance. I hope so, answered the orange genin. The conversation continued for a while but an opportunity never presented itself. Shizune sure got tipsy, but not drunk to the point Anko usually was when she went drinking. Naruto wondered if she had built-in resistance or if she simply had more self-control than the purple-haired Junin. Eventually, Shizune paid the bill and they started making their way back to where the gambling den was located. It was already sunset and the time was running out for Naruto, he'd have to act fast. "Well, here we are," said her, once they got to the spot. "It was fun getting to know you, Naruto." "Same for me," said him, as he finally realized a plan. "But hey, I saved you from tediously waiting here for hours, don't I deserve a reward?" Shizune giggled. "Alright, I'll talk to Lady Tsunade about going back to the village. But don't get your hopes up, she's really stubborn." "Actually, I was thinking of something else," said the blonde ninja, casually. "Something to make me remember today." "What's on your mind?" she asked playfully. "Can I get a kiss on the cheek?" asked him, smiling. Shizune looked at him as if she thought that was really cute of him to ask. She was flattered thinking he had developed a puppy crush on her. She was also a bit tipsy, so she was more inclined to accept stuff of that nature. "All right then." She got close to his cheek, closed her eyes and prepared to peck it. However, Naruto quickly grabbed her hips and went straight to her mouth, kissing her and catching her completely off guard. He activated the jutsu without wasting any time, and after they broke off after a few seconds of kissing, she had that same look of the other girls after being affected by the technique. At the same time, Tsunade left the gambling den and quickly noticed Shizune and Naruto standing there. "Shizune, let's go back to the hotel," said her, a bit pissed off since she wasn't able to make a single penny. "And what's this brat doing here?" "Actually, I was just leaving," said Naruto, not wanting to start a fight since he knew that they both were incredibly short-tempered. But not without handing Shizune a piece of paper with instructions for her to leave the hotel once Tsunade was asleep and go meet Naruto in his camp. Back at Naruto's little camp in the woods, the boy talked the other team members around a campfire. "So, did it work?" asked Sakura, curious. "Yep. She should be arriving at around midnight," answered the orange ninja. "Should we leave when the time comes? To give you two some privacy?" asked Tenten. "Yeah, I want some alone time with her, it's gonna be our first time after all," he confirmed. And that's just what happened. Soon after midnight, Shizune arrived at camp and all the other girls were gone. "So, it seems like I won't have to wait a few years after all," joked Naruto, smiling. Shizune took off her kimono, with a smirk. "No, you won't," she said. The half-raven-haired woman walked seductively in Naruto's direction, with her then straddling him and giving him several kisses on the lips. "You know, I was always worried about still being single at my age," she said smiling. "Now that I have you, I don't have to worry about it anymore." Naruto laughed and kissed her back, grabbing her butt as he did so. Shizune's body was very slim, not as curvy as Tsunami's and also not as flat as Kin's, but it had a charm of its own. After breaking up from the French kiss, Naruto manhandled Shizune and landed her on her back, beside the campfire. The orange ninja took off her plain white panties and then started to lick in her folds. Shizune started to moan with pleasure, impressed at Naruto's skill. "You must get a lot of practice to be this good," she commented, between moans. "You have no idea," Naruto answered, continuing to do his thing. Once he thought she was already wet enough, Naruto took off his own clothes and prepared himself to penetrate her. The campfire made its cracking sounds as Naruto slowly inserted his manhood on Shizune's incredibly tight. "Man, how can you be so tight?" asked Naruto, impressed. Shizune just moaned. She was already in heaven and hadn't even orgasmed yet. She had been yearning for years. The ally frustrated didn't come close to desk bribing her situation. Her moaning started to get louder and louder as Naruto picked up the pace of his thirsts. He grabbed Shizune's hands and rammed his inside her like his life depended on it, intoxicated by pleasure himself. He gripped her hands with even more strength and kissed her lips as he was about to come, quickly shooting rope after rope of sperm inside her, something that prompted her own orgasm. As Shizune achieved her climax, she stayed in bliss for a good amount of time. And so did Naruto. He had no idea that with her would feel so good. He wondered if with Tsunade could be even better perhaps. However, he didn't have much time for thinking as Shizune quickly started to stroke him again. I should have known you'd already be down for more, commented him, with a smirk. Shizune just giggled in response, taking a break just to take off her last article of clothing, her fishnet shirt. Of course, I wanna make the most of it, she said. Shizune then started to run her body against Naruto, making his all the more stiff. Naruto felt her rubbing her small on his torso and licking his neck, all the while stroking his. This was driving him crazy. She then turned around and straddled him again, reverse cowgirl style, and started to ride his. With Naruto grabbing her as she did it. Once again, it didn't take long for Naruto to orgasm and fill her with hot cum. The with Shizune took a long time, and they still could have kept on going for longer if it wasn't for the fact that she had to go back to the hotel. As soon as the sun started to rise, Naruto coached her on asking Tsunade to go back to the village and sent Shizune on her way. Now, he just had to wait for the results. That bastard. Naruto slammed the ground, furious. He's the one responsible for what Kin's going through. I'll go after him right now. No, said Shizune, alarmed. Naruto, he's one of the 3 legendary Sannin. Even with all our strength combined we wouldn't be able to defeat him, even with his damaged arms. The black-haired girl continued. And besides, that white-haired helper of his seems like he's trouble too. Naruto knew she was right, even if he didn't want her to be. Orochimaru was the one pulling the strings on Dosu. It was his fault that he was having to go through all this. But still, Naruto remembered the fight in the Forest of Death. He wasn't even close to that level of power yet. You're right, I overreacted, said the blonde ninja, taking a deep breath. So, what's the plan now? Asked Sakura, sounding a bit worried. Shizune, any luck convincing her to come back to the village? He asked. Nope, she won't budge. Shizune answered, frustrated. Naruto took a deep breath and started to think for a few minutes, something he wasn't used to doing. His options were diminishing in number. At this point, he knew the best thing to do would be to go after Tsunade himself. I've got no other choice, I'll have to cast the jutsu on her. Shizune coached Naruto on everything he should know about Tsunade before making a move on her. She told him about her sad past, about her legendary Sannin days and about the reason why she left the village and was currently living as a wandering gambler. Armed with that knowledge, Naruto went to go look for her, determined to make it happen. Can you stop following me around, brat? Asked Tsunade, upset about Naruto walking behind her as she took a morning stroll through the street. Not until you at least tell me the reason why you won't come back to the village, said the blonde ninja, wanting to have her open up so she could let her guard down. I have people there who are dear to me and only you can help them. You've got some nerve, answered her, turning her back and staring at him in the eyes. It's none of your business, now scram and leave me alone. I've already told you, I won't leave you alone until you talk, said Naruto, resolute. He had noticed how stubborn she was, so his plan was to act stubborn too and see if it worked. Tsunade really seemed to be losing her patience. The legendary medical ninja thought about just beating the crap out of the brat, but then realized that it would just make her problem go away for a little time. It was just a temporary solution. And then it hit her. She suddenly had an idea on how to get rid of the brat. Alright then, let's make a bet then, said Tsunade, with a smirk. A bet? Asked Naruto, confused. See this necklace around my neck? She pointed it out. It was a green crystal, very beautiful. If you manage to snatch it from me in 1 week, I'll go back to the village with you. But if you fail, you have to leave me alone forever. Is that okay? Also, remember, no outside help. Tsunade was incredibly confident There was no way that brat was gonna do it, he was just a leaf genin after all. Deal, answered Naruto. It wasn't the best resolution, but it was better than nothing, and in 1 week she'd meet with Orochimaru so things could get really ugly. He had to agree to the bet. And besides, if this worked he wouldn't even have the need to use the mind domination jutsu on her. As soon as she turned her back, Naruto rushed and went running trying to tackle her. Tsunade then simply dodged and put her foot on the way making Naruto trip and fall. You're gonna have to do better than that, brat, said Tsunade, in a wry tone. Damn it. Naruto slammed the ground with his 2 fists. And so, Naruto spent the rest of the day trying to catch Tsunade off guard and take the necklace. Safe to say he didn't even manage to get close to doing it. The blonde Sannin was incredibly skilled, so avoiding Naruto's attempts was child's play to her. After resting for the night, the orange ninja went after her in the second day too. With no progress at all. The same thing happened on the third, and on the fourth, and on the fifth. And as the final day had come, Naruto was getting desperate. He had thought about doing this for a while, yet thought it was too dangerous. He could get seriously hurt if it failed, but at this point, it was his best option. He was gonna try and get the necklace as she took her bath. It was a particularly hot afternoon, so Tsunade decided to take a bath in her hotel room. After she decided on that, Shizune quickly relayed the information onto Naruto and gave him the spare key to her room. It was now or never. Using everything he learned about stealth on the academy, Naruto snuck inside the room and slowly made his way into the bathroom, as quietly as he possibly could. Given Tsunade's short temper, Naruto knew that he'd be in deep trouble if he bumped into her. The blonde genin, doing his best to remain calm, slowly opened the door to the bathroom so as to not make any sound. As he peeked inside, he could see that the bathtub curtains would stop her from seeing him. Great, that was his chance. With extreme caution, Naruto made his way inside the bathroom and slowly located the necklace among her used clothes. There it was, he had one. And just as he was about to grab it, Tsunade casually slid the curtains. Naruto thought he'd be scared in that situation, but no, he was in awe. Tsunade wasn't simply hot, she was breathtakingly beautiful. Her smooth skin, her massive S, her silky hair, her gorgeous eyes, her amazing figure. Naruto was almost drooling. He didn't give a crap if she was old, she was more beautiful than most women Naruto had ever seen in his life. Unfortunately, his ogling was cut short by a strong punch to the top of his head, almost knocking him out and making his face hit the ground. What the hell are you doing here? Tsunade was furious. You little pervert. I should have known you'd try something like this, being so much like Jiraiya. I don't know who that is, said Naruto, trying to get up but still feeling a bit woozy. This is all a misunderstanding, just let me explain. Tsunade looked at Naruto's blatant erection. You're not talking to me in that state. She opened the door to the room. Go take care of that and then we'll speak. Quote. Crazy hag, Naruto muttered as he left the room. What was that? Asked Tsunade, still pissed. Nothing. Naruto then begrudgingly rubbed one out in the room while Tsunade finished her bath, frustrated that he couldn't just have with her already. He'd gotten used to not needing to masturbate. A few minutes later, Tsunade entered the room, still pissed off but fully clothed. Naruto had already finished his business, too. So, I'm listening, said Tsunade, with a severe stare. I was just trying to get the necklace. Today's the last day and I was getting desperate, so I figured it would be a good opportunity to take it from you as you were in the bath. Explained Naruto, knowing that lying to her would probably get him into even more hot water. I see, said Tsunade, understanding. At the very least, I can respect your bravery. She smirked, realizing how much the blonde genin reminded her of Dan and Nawaki. So, why exactly do you want me to go back to the village so much? Asked the blonde Sannin. You've piqued my interest. I already told you, I have people dear to me who need your help. He explained. One of them is in a coma because of your buddy Orochimaru. Tsunade frowned, remembering her interaction with the Sage of the Snakes. I see. The woman felt sorry for him, she knew what it was like being unable to save a loved one. She started to relate to Naruto, she started to form some sort of kinship to him. The lady then sat beside him in the bed and put her hand on his hair to try and make him feel better. Alright, I guess I can make this exception. I'll go back to the village and help your friend, but I won't take that nonsense Hokage job, understood? And as she dropped her guard, Naruto quickly took the chance and swiped her necklace from her. It looks like I win our bet, said Naruto, smiling. You little. Tsunade was upset to have been made a fool of by him. But it's not like it matters anyway, I already decided to go back. What? Does that mean I don't get a prize? Asked Naruto, trying to steer the conversation to a better place. Well, you did manage to get the necklace, so I guess you can ask something of me. Within reason, of course. Tsunade said, begrudgingly. Naruto opened up a smile. He really didn't need this anymore, but after seeing Tsunade in that way, he knew he just had to try and have his way with her, no matter what. She was just too damn beautiful. I want a kiss, of course. Declared him. Figures, answered Tsunade, remembering Naruto's erection back in the bathroom. Alright, but it'll be just a peck. Naruto was gleaming with happiness as Tsunade approached his lips. Naruto quickly locked his lips with hers, activating the jutsu in the process. Tsunade had that same look in her as all the other girls after the kiss broke off. Naruto was incredibly pumped and excited. This is gonna be so great. He then laid back on the bed and took out his already hardened. Can you give me a little show? Of course, answered Tsunade, with a naughty smile. The busty blonde then got on her feet and seductively walked in front of the bed, looking at Naruto in the eyes. She then slowly started to take off her green coat, making it fall to the ground. Naruto was already stroking his member as Tsunade slowly took off her heels too. I can't wait, he said. Tsunade just smirked as she unmade her obi, or belt, opening up her top, showing him the lacy green bra underneath, with her perky nipples being almost visible as the tight bra struggled to contain her amazingly big and plump S. They seemed like they were going to pop out at any second. Throwing her top to the ground, Tsunade then took off her pants too, revealing matching green lacy panties. Naruto noticed that she was already wet, making him start to stroke his even harder. The blonde beauty then turned around and bent her in Naruto's direction. Her butt wasn't particularly big, round or plump, but Naruto thought it suited her quite well. You know, you were treating me like crap pretty much from the moment we met, said Naruto, having got an idea. I think you deserve a little punishment. As you wish, Master Naruto. She said. Naruto got even harder just by hearing those words coming out of her mind. He really was changing fast. Naruto then approached the bent-over Tsunade and grabbed her butt, massaging and passing his finger through it, groping it like crazy. Making Tsunade start to moan a little. Her moans were pretty tame in the start, but once Naruto gave her a good slap in the butt, she let out a very loud one. This is for hitting me in the head, said the orange ninja, as he started to spank her over and over, making her moan louder and louder. Ah, she moaned, feeling a mixture of pleasure and pain. He then gave her a lot more smacks, striking her many times in each cheek with the palm of his right hand. I think that's enough, now help me get off with your, ordered Naruto, after stopping the spanking. Tsunade turned around and seductively took off her bra, making her S pop out, her nipples hard and crazy with pleasure. She then approached Naruto and involved his in the middle of her cleavage, then started to give him the best tit of his life. It was out of this world. Naruto was going crazy with how great her breaths felt. Soon, he felt himself getting close to his orgasm. I'm coming, he yelled, as Tsunade involved his member with her mouth and swallowed all of his seed. Never in my life I thought I'd see a big shot kunoichi like you in that position. joked Naruto, still in bliss after coming. At this moment I'm not one of the legendary Sannin. I'm just your woman, she answered seductively, getting Naruto hard again. He couldn't wait any longer, so Naruto just manhandled her and put her on top of him, quickly yanking her panties out of the way. I can't wait any longer, said him. I'm going in. They both then started to like animals in heat, cowgirl style. Tsunade rode her and moaned like crazy as she rocked her hips against Naruto's hard. Orange Ninja grabbed her S and started to on them as they both moved their hips against one another, desperate for UAL relief. And as Naruto felt himself getting close to coming, he kissed Tsunade on the lips as he released all of his hot ropes of cum inside her. He still wasn't done yet though. His quickly stiffened again and he kept ramming her until she reached her own orgasm a few minutes later. And so they ed for a few more hours. Naruto had pretty much won, he had conquered Tsunade, and now, Kin was saved. All he had to do was tell his friends, pack up, and head back to the Leaf Village. In that same night, he took Tsunade and Shizune back to their camp to explain what had happened and to start going on their way. I knew you could do it, said Ino, happy. Good work, Naruto, said Tenten, excited to finally have her idol Tsunade on board. Great. When are we leaving? Asked Sakura, casually. Naruto didn't say anything. Naruto, what's up? Asked Shizune, a bit confused. Silence. We're not going back yet, said Naruto, turning his back. What? Asked the pink-haired girl. We still have business here. We do, answered Naruto, determined. We're gonna go take Orochimaru down. He's relatively unguarded and can't use his arms, and since we now have another Sannin in our side, it's the perfect opportunity. All of the camp went silent. Naruto, with all due respect, I don't think we're ready, said Shizune, in an alarmed tone. I don't think so either. Tsunade agreed, in a serious tone. Even if we outnumber them and with Orochimaru's arms being useless, I know him very well, he's still incredibly dangerous. We could all die. Naruto was having none of that. Now he had a shot at getting back at Orochimaru for what he had done to Kin, and he was gonna take it no matter what. We got this, said him, closing his fists. I can't let that bastard slip away after everything he's done. Naruto, you're letting your emotions cloud your judgment again, said Sakura, sincerely scared. I think we should play it smart this time. It's too dangerous. We could always go after him after we get stronger and more prepared. Naruto knew she was probably right, but his pride wouldn't let him accept it. If there was a chance of him defeating Orochimaru, he'd take it. Being reckless had worked out fine for him so far, why wouldn't it work now? We're going to attack him tomorrow first thing in the morning. Right at the spot he and Tsunade were going to meet. Naruto was adamant. Me and her will attack him, the rest of you can take care of that traitor Kabuto. This is an order. The girls all went silent. As Naruto looked at the campfire, with the flames reflecting on his eyes, almost like a mirror of the hate he had inside. The Nine Tails chuckled as it saw that scene transpire. Tomorrow would be a very interesting day indeed. Quite the group you've there, Tsunade. Orochimaru commented, sarcastically. But please, don't tell me that you seek to attack me with backup from these little kittens. Shut the hell up, Naruto shouted, taking one step forward, his eyes already turned red because of his anger. Oh, if it isn't that nine-tailed fox kid from the forest, commented the sage of the snakes, recognizing the genin. May I ask you how Sasuke is doing? Naruto was fuming, he couldn't wait to get his hands on Orochimaru. That's none of your business. Give up, Orochimaru. Tsunade intervened, in a severe tone. You're vastly outnumbered, and without being able to use your arms, there's no way for you to defeat all of us. After hearing that, Orochimaru slowly started to giggle, until it evolved into mad laughing. What's so funny? Asked her, fully aware of her own show of bravado, empty words. I thought you knew me better than that, old friend, said him, starting to liberate Heiser intent, making the more inexperienced girls like Tenten and Ino start to get paralyzed, but managing to break out of it because of Naruto having warned them about it earlier. Even if there were 100 more genin backing you up, you still wouldn't have a chance at defeating me. Lord Orochimaru, we should take this battle somewhere more open, suggested Kabuto, still very calm. With a nod, they both started to retreat, making Naruto and the rest of his team follow behind in hot pursuit. Soon, they arrived in a grassy plateau, perfect for a battle of that magnitude. Stick to the plan, everyone, yelled Naruto. Me and Tsunade will take that snake bastard, the rest of you go after Kabuto. The girls nodded in response. Naruto and Tsunade then turned their attention to Orochimaru, who still looked incredibly confident. Ever since we first met, I could tell that you have a habit of biting more than you can chew in regards to choosing your enemies. Orochimaru provoked, still smug. Too bad you won't be able to put to use the lesson I'm about to teach you, since you'll die here. Now at the battlefield, Naruto couldn't wait any longer. Full of rage and hatred, he rushed against Orochimaru, preparing to throw a punch right at his face. Meanwhile, Kabuto and the other girls still hadn't initiated their battle. I should make this quick. Lord Orochimaru's time shouldn't be wasted in pointless fights such as these. Kabuto commented. I'll try to take you out quickly, though I can't promise it'll be painless. Why are you doing this, Kabuto? Asked Sakura. We trusted you back in the exams. That was your first mistake. I've been a spy for the Sound Village all along. He had a smug grin of his own. And thanks to your stance, I've managed to collect valuable data on all of you in the form of my ninja info cards. Ino interrupted. Cut the crap, you four-eyed creep. She pulled out a kunai of her own. You want us to think that those cards will help you against these odds? But of course, he answered. I know all there is to know about you guys and your combat capabilities. Ino Yamanaka, Leaf Village Genin, is average on all ninjutsu, taijutsu and genjutsu. Specialty is the mind transfer jutsu, a Yamanaka clan secret technique. Said the white-haired sound ninja. How? Ino was dumbstruck. He was correct, he knew everything. Sakura Haruno, Leaf Village Genin, has average ninjutsu and taijutsu but is slightly more proficient in genjutsu. Specialty is chakra control, he continued. Tenten, Leaf Village Genin, has average ninjutsu and genjutsu but is reasonably skilled in taijutsu. Specialty is ninja weapon manipulation. Everyone was starting to get unnerved. He was getting everything right. He knew all there is to know about their combat capabilities, and yet they knew nothing of his. They were completely at a disadvantage. The only one which I don't have any info on is you, Shizune. He looked at her, umming a battle stance. But I'm confident that this fight will give me an opportunity to change that. Be careful, he's gonna attack, warned Shizune, with a yell. The white-haired spy did a few hand signs. Summoning. Dead Soul Jutsu. Out of nowhere, a dead corpse from an Anbu Leaf ninja showed up on the battlefield. The corpse then slowly got up on his feet, not seeming to have very good reflexes, and looked at the three genin girls, pulling out his ninja sword from his back. It's alive, said Tenten, scared, taking a step back. No, it's not, Shizune explained, already familiar with that. That's a forbidden medical technique. He's using his chakra to make that body's basic functions work. It's literally a walking corpse, a puppet. Precisely, confirmed Kabuto, pulling out his curved kunai. But a corpse is more than enough to keep you three busy while I face off against Shizune here. Shizune pulled out her Senbon needles, ready for battle. And just like that, the corpse started to rush against the girls, who adopted a defensive formation with Sakura and Ino side by side in the front and Tenten in the back. Kabuto too rushed, but he did so against Shizune, trying to slice her with his kunai only to get the attack blocked by a parry using her needle. In the other side of the plateau, Naruto still charged Orochimaru. He threw the punch at the very moment he got within melee range, and Orochimaru dodged it effortlessly by sidestepping, and the countered by knee striking Naruto in the stomach. the force of the blow being so great that it sent him flying back to Tsunade's side. I see this isn't gonna be any fun if you don't use the nine-tailed fox's power, said Orochimaru. Come, use it against me. I want to see what Sasuke's rival can do when he gets serious. Naruto, don't be reckless, warned Tsunade, healing the area of his stomach that had been hit. It seems that it had already been enough to break a few ribs. Naruto didn't seem to feel the pain though, his rage prevented him from it. Are you listening? Asked the blonde Sannin. He wasn't. Fine. If that's what you want. Naruto got on his feet and made a hand sign, then started to focus on drawing from the fox's chakra like he had done against Dosu, Neji and Gaara. Suddenly, a red, aggressive and hateful aura started to emanate from Naruto. His eyes were red and his pupils like those of a fox, his canines had gotten point and his expression was pure anger. The power of the tailed beast also accelerated his healing, fixing his ribs almost instantly. Without wasting any more time, he rushed Orochimaru again and continued to attack him with punches, kicks, leg sweeps and even headbutts. The Sannin still managed to dodge it all, not getting hit a single time. He was playing around with Naruto, moving like it was a dance. Worried, Tsunade rushed at the Snake Master too, who left Naruto's reach with a great leap backwards once he saw Tsunade approaching. We have to attack him together, she yelled, but her words didn't matter to Naruto. The red chakra started to get more and more dense around Naruto, forming some kind of protective mantle around his body, and making one red chakra tail appear alongside it. Kabuto was still locked in combat with Shizune. They both traded blows, him using his kunai and Shizune her senbon. They were pretty much evenly matched, with each other managing to block or dodge each other's strikes successfully. Until Shizune, in a twist, actually threw the needle at his hand, catching him off guard and making the drop the knife, opening up his guard to receive a kick on the chin from the girl, which sent him flying back. After that, he started to get up, with a smile. Not bad. He then picked up a few food pills from his ninja pouch and quickly ate them all. But the real battle's only just begun. Kabuto then started to concentrate his chakra in his hands, making them take the form of sharp blue blades, or scalpels, capable of cutting through human flesh with ease. At the same time, the three girls were having a really hard time with the corpse. Damn it, yelled Ino, as she got up from a punch in the face. He's so much faster than that guy with the airwaves. I guess even though he's just a corpse, he wasn't in the Anbu for nothing. Sakura tried to analyze the situation, as Tenten did her best to keep him at bay with a barrage of shuriken and kunai she summoned from her scrolls. The corpse simply tanked the ones he couldn't dodge or block with his sword since he couldn't feel any pain. Any ideas? I'm running out of scrolls here, Tenten yelled, doing her best to keep him away. I've thought about using my mind transfer but it's too dangerous with this many enemies, answered Ino, frustrated. I'd be defenseless if Kabuto or Orochimaru attacked my unconscious body. This is bad. Sakura was starting to sweat nervously. Back at the other side, Naruto, this time with a much bigger speed, actually managed to hit Orochimaru with a powerful strike from his chakra claws, making the Sage of the Snakes roll around the ground, his torso completely delacerated. How do you like that? Yelled Naruto, furious. Orochimaru then got up on his feet like it was nothing, a disappointed look at his face. Is this all a Jinchuriki can do? His wounds were quickly regenerated. I think I might have overestimated you, Naruto. Tsunade once again caught up with him. Just listen to me. I'm losing my patience. I've already given you more than enough time for you to show me what you can do. Now, it's my turn to strike back. Orochimaru then started to grossly spit out a snake from his mouth, a snake who in turn spat out a sword. Without wasting his time, Orochimaru started to run towards Naruto, who quickly tried to intercept him with another claw strike, extending the range of the attack with chakra, but Orochimaru simply dodged it by going underground and then emerged once again rushing against him, preparing to thrust the sword right in Naruto's gut. However, Tsunade stopped him by hitting him with a powerful punch to the top of his head right as he started to get close, making the impact of him hitting the ground form a huge crater. The Sannin lady, however, didn't drop her guard as she knew Orochimaru. Just as expected by her, the body she had hit started to turn into mud. And she saw the real sage of the snakes appearing behind an unsuspecting Naruto with his sword in mouth. Naruto, watch out. Meanwhile, Kabuto advanced, running against Shizune, chakra blades ready to strike. I can't let him get close with those things. Shizune inhaled a lot of air. Ninja art. Poison mist jutsu. Then spewing a purple cloud of poison. That won't work, yelled Kabuto, with a smirk, as he jumped over it. However, Shizune already expected that, and quickly started to shoot a barrage of Senbon needles from the device she had installed in her forearm. Noticing the incoming needles, Kabuto crossed his arms and tanked most of them. Once in the ground, he still managed to strike Shizune in the arm, with a strike that managed to destroy her device. The black-haired girl jumped back, trying to heal her bleeding arm with medical ninjutsu. Kabuto was already preparing to attack again, but started to feel his body movements get slower. The hell, he said, noticing what was happening. Is this poison? When did I? And then it hit him. The needles must have been poisoned as well. Shizune smirked. Not so tough now, huh? Taunted her, finishing her heal and pulling out 3 more needles from her pouch. A minor setback. Kabuto once again got into a battle stance. I'll just have to finish you off before the poison takes full effect, then I'll take the antidote from your corpse. You can try, yelled Shizune, as she threw more needles. Close by, the 3 genin girls were locked in close combat with the corpse. The dead ninja then quickly attacked Tenten with a downward sword slash, to which she managed to block with a metal bow staff she had summoned. Sakura and Ino tried to capitalize and hit him from behind with punches, but he simply countered with a double back kick, hitting each one in the torso and sending them flying. Back to focusing on Tenten, with swift sword motions, he managed to disarm her and ravage her with a quick succession of sword slashes, sending her to the ground unconscious, bleeding and full of cuts. Tenten, Sakura yelled, as she quickly got up and tried to go help her friend, only to be intercepted by the Anbu corpse, who dealt with her the exact same way, putting her out of commission too. Ino was devastated as she saw that, both her teammates down, she was on her own this time. No Asuma-sensei to protect her. No Sakura to tag team against the enemy. And no Shikamaru and Choji to coordinate their strategies. I guess it's all up to me, huh? She bit her teeth, still full of fighting spirit. I'll show you that I can fight by myself too. After the battle in the mining village, it was clear that Ino needed to get stronger, and for that reason, she asked Naruto to teach her a particular technique, and then, she created her own version of it. This is probably gonna drain all of my remaining chakra, but I have no choice. Ino made a hand sign and yelled. Shadow Clone Jutsu. With her small chakra reserves, Ino only managed to summon a single clone, but to her, it was enough. She then handed her ninja tools pouch to her close and said, "You know what to do." To which the clone simply nodded in response. The clone of Ino then started to run in the direction of the corpse, who, by instinct, stabbed the clone in the gut, but before it could disappear, the clone showed that the ninja tool bag was filled to the brim with paper bombs. Now, Ino yelled as she made the hand sign to activate the bombs, causing a series of massive explosions that could be seen from very far away, blasting the dead corpse to smithereens. Ino then fell to her knees, severely hurt and out of chakra. I did it, and then fell to the ground. Back on the other side of the plateau, Orochimaru had managed to successfully stab Naruto in the back with his blade, making the Jinchuriki cough up blood. Naruto! Tsunade yelled, as the boy fell to the ground following a devastating kick to the back of the head by Orochimaru. The furious blonde Sannin rushed against the sage of the snakes, who still had an evil grin in his face. I'll end this. Tsunade made a hand sign herself. 1,000 healings. But before she could release her Byakugo, Orochimaru interrupted. Do you seriously think I'd let you do that? A series of snakes then emerged from the ground and started to bite Tsunade's body, in the arms, the torso, in the legs. And then, the snakes started to strangle her. Such a shame, said Orochimaru, in a sarcastic tone. If you didn't have to fight and babysit this brat at the same time, you might have been able to actually beat me. Tsunade was unconscious too, bleeding on the ground. Orochimaru then started to slowly walk towards Naruto. Back on the other side, Shizune was completely on the defensive against Kabuto. Her tactic was to keep him at bay while her poison's effect got stronger, but he really wasn't making this easy. She already had several cuts she had taken from Kabuto's relentlesso with the chakra scalpels. She'd already be dead by blood loss if it wasn't for her own medical jutsu. Your movements are starting to get slower, Kabuto commented as he continued to strike against her with his scalpels. He was right, she was quickly running out of chakra, medical jutsu was a huge drain, and she couldn't try and attack him with taijutsu because his scalpels would slice her body to shreds. She only had a single trump card left, it was that or nothing. She quickly took the bottle of antidote of her poison from her pouch and started to make hand signs. She'd let Kabuto get really close and then spew the poisoned smoke all around then, making them both inhale them, and then she'd quickly drink the antidote. As Kabuto got in melee range, Shizune inhaled again and yelled. Ninja art. Poison mist jutsu. Spewing that dense toxic cloud around them both, inhaling the poison herself. Kabuto inhaled it too, and since it was a lot, she thought he was as good as dead. She then quickly moved out and was about to drink the antidote when, out of nowhere, Kabuto jumped out of the cloud and slashed her in the torso with 2 strikes of his scalpels, making her fall to the ground bleeding. He then took the antidote flask and drank it. How? Asked Shizune. In the ground. Considering the long time that poison in your needles took to have an effect on me, you should have already figured it out. Kabuto had an evil grin. I'm obviously not immune, but the body modifications Lord Orochimaru gave me made it so that I am more resistant to poison than your average ninja. He then rose his chakra scalpel. Now, all you. And then I'll go finish off the other 3. Back where Naruto was, Orochimaru slowly approached him. His 9 tails chakra had all but dissipated at that point. The damage had been too much, that sword of Orochimaru had really done a number on Naruto. The orange ninja was on the ground, bleeding, but still furious at his arch-enemy who prepared to him. And once again, you were no match against me, said the sage of the snakes, smiling. I had thought you had potential, Naruto. That you could turn out to be something more, someone that would clash with Sasuke as an equal and push him to his limit. Orochimaru was already at close range. But in the end, you were just a reckless brat who bit more than what he could chew. Maybe if you had played it smart instead of lashing out with blind emotion, you and your friends could have come out victorious today. He put his face close to Naruto's. But you will die here, and then, I'll take Sasuke's body for myself. Orochimaru made an evil smirk. And let's not forget Kin, I still must punish her for her betrayal. Go to hell. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling it very hard to move. And as Orochimaru was about to finish him off, he started to feel something on his arms. The painkillers that he had thought to make the pain bearable had worn off, and he needed more urgently. The excruciating pain started to take a hold of Orochimaru, who started to contort his face and scream uncontrollably. Ah! Orochimaru's screams could be heard all over the plateau. It was like his hands were on fire, burning like hell itself. Why now? Orochimaru screamed. Curse you, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Kabuto heard his master's screams, leaving Shizune alive and quickly rushing to his aid. We have to leave for you to take your medication, Lord Orochimaru, said him, taking the sage of the snakes on his arms. Listen up, Naruto. Kabuto looked at him, serious. Today, you and your friends will live. But if you try to get on our way again, you'll die for sure. Kabuto then quickly started to run away with his master in his arms, quickly making his way into the woods nearby.